Good morning, good afternoon and good evening. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you again for joining me, especially after the last video, which is the reason I'm doing this video because it's, you could argue it didn't go down very well, and I really wanted to do a follow-up on that and just sort of explain what it is I was trying to do, because I understand from reading all the comments, and if you've not seen the video already, it's called Things Not to Say to a Car Dealer, and there are a lot of comments on there that are negative. Normally I get a few, and that's just the nature of social media for you, but this one was pretty bad. And I read all the comments last night. I got to a point where I had to turn my phone off because I was, as a human, you get sucked in on the negative stuff and you're always focusing on it. And when there's a lot of negative stuff, you can soon make an evening of it. But I did read through a lot of them and then decided to rewatch the video. And after doing that, I kind of thought, a lot of these comments are valid, Rob, and I think you need to address this. So the purpose of today's video is to go through it, explain what it is I was trying to do. I can see that after watching the video, you might have had your trust in me shaken, and that bothers me the most out of all of this, because this channel is all about having a laugh, being open and honest, and talking about what happens in the car dealership and what we get up to on a daily basis. And I think, as a rule, people tend to enjoy it. I certainly enjoy doing it, but that video landed badly and it needs addressing. My options are, number one, I could just delete it and go quiet, pretend it never happened and move on. Option number two is I can do something called unlinking it. So I can basically, it'll still show on YouTube. If you've watched it, you'll still be able to see it again. And if you shared it with a mate, they'll still be able to see it, but it'll get no more new views. So from your point of view, it will look like I've done nothing, but in truth, what I will have done is just cut it off there. And the final thing I can do is just own it. And I've decided I'm just going to own it because I genuinely, and I don't want you to turn off this early in the video, but I stand by some of the things that I said. And I want to explain why, and also apologise for the way in which I said them, because I think that is the problem in this video. Now, what I've found on YouTube is that when things go wrong for me, the videos always seem to do really well. And if I've got something to say about the consumers, it always seems to go fairly badly. Now, it wasn't a shot at everybody at all. The video was meant to be talking about things that you might say to a car dealer that will get the backup. That was the whole point of it. And I do stand by the things that I've said are things that you could say that could cause problems, but I sort of want to go into them in a little bit more detail and explain exactly what I was trying to say. I'm not backtracking. I stand by what I said. However, it really bothers me that people think I'm a nasty guy because of the video that I've made, if that makes sense. I'm going to raise the points that are raised in the video, but I'm going to do it by reading through some of the comments, because some of these have been pretty bad. Some of the worst I've had. And I've had some pretty bad comments in the past, but these have been pretty cutting, and I do understand why. We're going to dive onto this, and I'm going to show you through the comments. Now, I did put a post on yesterday, and I pinned it, just saying, look, I apologise if people have sort of misinterpreted the video. If you're interpreting differently, I totally understand, etc., etc. I appreciate you all watching and engaging. Honestly, I appreciate the honest feedback, and sometimes you miss the mark with the video, and I've totally missed the mark on this one. However, what I have had is a lot of car dealers getting in touch with me, mates in the industry, saying they've seen the video, how long is it going to take you to pull it off, Rob? Because they think that what I've said is right, but they think that it's gone down badly. And they'll be right on, I think, both parts of that comment. So let's go through this, shall we, into a little bit of detail and look at some of the things that have been said and why I think that you're right in what you say, but I stand by what I said. Bit of a risky one, this one. The first comment that I want to bring up is this guy N Fawn. You put a comment on here saying, as a customer, my red flag is a dealer who spends a fortune on making their showroom look snazzy whilst crying about times being hard. It made me laugh, did that, mate? Because you've got a very valid point there. I do talk about the things that go wrong, and yet I'll sit here in a very nice car dealership talking about how rough it is. Look, I make an okay living from this job. I don't make a fortune like people seem to think that I make, because I've got quite a simple life behind all of this. I don't have a Ferrari, I don't have all of the stuff that a lot of people want. The watches that I wear are often gifted or not real. Spoiler alert, I'm not that guy. But it does pay me an okay income. So to sit here and talk about how rubbish it is potentially a little bit hypocritical, but working in a car dealership and selling cars for a living is hugely high risk, hugely stressful, and does unearth a lot of uncomfortable encounters with the public, and I like to talk about it, and people seem to enjoy those videos. So I see where you're coming from with that one, and it did make me laugh. So thank you for that comment. A few of these didn't make me laugh. So this comment is, so now that you've slagged off most of your customers who actually want a good deal, make a video about how bad salespeople are and bad companies. Right, wasn't slagging customers off at all. What I was talking about is the things that you could say that will make a car dealer go, I don't know about this deal. And it's just truth. I'm a car dealer, and this is genuinely how people think. I'm part of loads of forums, I speak to loads of dealers, and everyone's got the same sort of feelings. I know it's not what you want to hear, but it's genuinely the way that dealers think. And I think that's important to hear. Whether or not you like it or you don't like it, I think it's important. I think the way I delivered it was not great, because I didn't realise it was going to be such a subject that was going to trigger so much emotion from subscribers and people watching the video. So I kind of get that from both point of views. And I get this as well. So this guy's put, to you, these are just cars, but to customers, it's the biggest expense that they'll have other than buying a house. And I get that. And I feel that I've lost myself in doing that video and making it seem very flippant that he's selling a car and it's just a piece of metal. Not the case at all. I'm really picky with what I buy. And I think the problem is when he's talking about people who want a good deal isn't money off. A good deal is getting the right car for the right money. Now, when a dealer spends a lot of time finding the stock, prepping the stock, making sure it's all right, covering themselves, because it is as much to a risk to us selling a car that isn't right that it is to a consumer buying a car that isn't right. Believe me, it's a bigger risk for us. We go through all of that process, price it, make sure it's all okay, that looks right in the market, I think it'll sell for that much. And the first conversation you're having with someone on the phone is focused on price. That is just not a good start. And I stand by that, I really do. There are lots of ways to negotiate if you want to do, but more often than not, the price that's in the window is usually the right price for the car. We are in a market now where everything is online, and you can compare and you can look at different cars to make sure that the price is right. We have to do that. We can't overprice a car. There's no this, putting 500 quid on, knocking 500 quid off. It's just not the 1980s anymore. All I was trying to say was don't hit straight on price. Go in with an open mind, get in front of the car, look at it, and then start to talk about price. If you think it's applicable and you've got good reason for it, a dealer's always willing to listen. So get that. Now, the biggest problem I've had with what's been interpreted on this video, and I'm not backtracking by the way, and I hope you appreciate I'm just saying it as it is again, is people talking about this finance versus cash thing. Now, let me just set the record straight on this. If you come in here and you want finance on a car, I can get you finance on a car. As a result of getting you finance on the car, I often get paid a commission for doing so. The reason we get paid a commission is because there's administrational costs involved in it. We've got to do a Gabrielle report every year. We've got to pay the FCA, who regulate us for providing finance. There are costs involved, so we get paid a commission for doing that. It is not a huge amount of money. It is usually between 2 and 5% depending which dealership you're at, and the lower the interest rate that is set as a prevailing rate by that dealer, the lower their commission is. Our interest rate is 9.9% as a headline rate. If you've got terrible credit, it's probably going to be more. I don't make any more money for getting you a higher interest rate on your finance. There's a massive kick-off about in this industry. I've never done it, I never will do it, but if you would like finance, the option is there. Cash deals are not the best deal for a car dealer, and the reason for that, and when I say cash, I'm talking about physical cash pound notes. When you walk into a car dealership and you've got a bag full of cash, we need to count it, check it, pay it into the bank. There's a risk that the cash isn't right. There's a risk from a money laundering point of view that you're taking ill-gotten gains. Now, there are limits as to how much cash that you should take and can take legally, etc. But actually having a bag full of cash in the 1980s was a good thing. In a modern world with all the red tape and the way that we're regulated, it's just not a good thing anymore. The other option for buying a car is a bank transfer, which is actually probably the best option. I did try and say that on the video. But if you've got a bag full of cash, pay it into the bank and transfer it to the dealer. That is the best way of doing it. There's no cost for us to put it in. There's no checking it. There's no counting it. You're saving time, you're saving risk, you're saving cost. It's the best way to do it. If you buy a car on finance, the dealer will get a kickback on commission for that. Okay? It's not a massive amount of money. Now, when you look at it from a pure business point of view, if a customer comes into a car dealer and goes, I'm a cash buyer, that is not the best deal for pounds and pence for a car dealer. It isn't. That's all I was trying to say. I'm not saying I would prefer you to take finance out. I'm not trying to stuff you into finance. I'm not interested in that at all. Finance for me is a vehicle in which allows you to buy a car. The byproduct of it is we sometimes get paid a commission for selling finance or for using finance, use the proper term. That's all it is. That's all I was trying to say on that one. I used to work in financial services. My job was to put people in a better place financially. There are some people that will finance a car when they've got the money to buy the car. And the rationale for that is, right, I might get 10% charge on this finance as an interest rate. However, my investment is doing 15%. So why would I take it out of that investment to pay for the car to save 10%? Well, I'm costing 15. So there are lots of different reasons as to why people finance cars and don't finance them. We don't push it. The best thing to do if you're trying to get finance on a car and you need to borrow some money, if you can do it, is get a bank loan. Because a bank loan might be 4 or 5% and a car finance might be 9, 10% or more, depending on which dealership you use. That's fairly common knowledge, and I wasn't trying to push the finance thing on you. But again, walking in as a cash buyer and shouting it from the hilltops that you're a cash buyer just isn't going to get you a better deal. It just doesn't anymore, unfortunately. That's the truth of it. That's all I was trying to say on that one. There's been a few pretty scathing comments on here saying you just want to get people into debt so you can make a few extra quid. Hopefully that's explained that, not the case at all. And then complain when extra consumer rights afforded by the finance dealer are used against you. You've lost me. Okay, Steve, I kind of get, well, I totally get where you're coming from, but again, I think I've not explained it properly. So hopefully you kind of get that now, mate, and apologies for that one. And I also agree with that. I actually prefer to sell a car truthfully. Bank transfer is the best way to buy a car from me. You don't have to deal with all the red tape of finance. Yes, the commission's nice, but it's not a huge amount of money at the end of the year. It's just easy, quick and clean deal. That's how I prefer to do it. True colours are being shown here. Cheers, mate. Imagine trying to buy a car off this guy, anything you say he'd be low-key sniffing his nose at. Not at all. So people come in here and say all sorts of things. All I'm trying to do is get a good deal for a customer and a good deal for us as a business. That's all it boils down to. But crucially, making sure that the car is all right, because a good deal, people seem to think, is the cheapest they can possibly buy a car for, and that isn't necessarily a good deal. So there are some positive comments on here, and I think that the problem is, as a human, you focus on all the negative stuff. So I could do a video that'll have 200 comments on it, there'll be one negative one, and guess what I focus on? So this is why I found this particularly difficult to look at, but there are some really nice positive comments of, I think, people who've read between the lines as to see that I was just trying to do something a little bit different, a little bit funny, and sort of explain, you know, honestly, what car dealers think when they get presented with some of these problems. The other thing as well, and there's some comments on here talking about using Motorway and CarWow and WeBanyCar to negotiate the price of your part exchange. It's just, unless it's a physical offer, it's not a valid point. That's all I was trying to make on that one. So a lot of these companies will give you a bulled up price, and to be fair, some cars do sell for that bulled up price. Spec makes a massive difference on this one. If your car is low spec, they'll give you a price, then it could sell for less, and high spec vice versa. However, if you go in there armed with, this is what Motorway have estimated my car's worth, well, I'm stood here looking at it with 4 curbed wheels, needing a side of paint, missing a serv. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to say, don't use that as negotiation. You're welcome to try it if you want to do, but it's just not real. It's a indicative figure. That's where I was sort of going with that one. I'm just sort of trying to say, nothing I said was gospel. It's just things to bear in mind when you're going into a car dealer. That's all it is. There are loads and loads of kind of positive stuff on here, which is great. It's informative for folks. I've been guilty of some of these buying behaviours. Probably not a buyer's dream. I rarely part exchange. I don't like financing, but I don't usually mess about. Tyre kick and barter, that's good news. The car and the dealer both seem honest. They can take my bank transfer for the asking price, which they've never done begrudgingly as far as I can tell, exactly. But if a dealer or car smell off, then I start making my need to speak to the wife first excuses and ghost them. Also fair enough. If the car's not right and the dealer's not right, I get why you ghost them. I guess I'm in a bit of a weird position here, aren't I? Because I'm talking about how I prep my cars and what I know I'm selling and who I know I am. And I guess that from a public's point of view, car dealers have still got a bad rep. So you go in with a different attitude than I've got, and I understand that. I'm hoping that I've put a few of these comments to rest here. I'm going to leave the video out there because you think you need to own these things. It can become part of history, and I hope that it's something that we talk about in years to come. Do you remember that stupid video that he did? Is it still there? Yeah. Do you regret it? Yeah, I still regret it. But will I learn from it? Yes, I absolutely will. But it's not going to change my attitudes. I'm still going to be to the point, open, honest, tell you exactly what is going on in dealerships, how it works, things that go wrong and things that go well. And I hope that you enjoy the journey with me. And I hope that this has sort of settled you a little bit to understand why I was trying to make this video and what I was trying to achieve with it. And I do hope that it helped. And I will be doing something moving forwards on what car dealers say that you should look out for that will maybe put the boot on the other foot and give you a bit of help on that side of things. Until the next one, Thanks for staying with me. Cheers.